talking about, so that they'll download it on the on the back end. Just pop these babies on. And he'll, Sean will play the intro, and then I'll just introduce what we're doing, and we'll talk. And I'll probably interview you about your career right after we talk about the standings. So we'll give a little wrap around what's going on in the league, and then we'll jump into like how you got to the NHL and what it was like to bounce. You bounced around a fair amount before you started winning Stanley Cups on a regular basis.
Yeah, a little bit.
So that's all interesting stuff.
As you go to dive into the interview, you should shut off that, and that gives me a nice little transition.
Okay, good. That's what we'll do. We'll go through the standings on here, and then we'll go from there. What are these headphones on?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's you kind of do need to be right up on it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put this here. I don't know where our microphone is, but it helps to hear some of the stuff coming through there. All right. Whatever you want, Sean. We're ready.
All right, gentlemen, let's do this. Dr. Hockey. Each week, Dr. Jay Calvert puts his med school education to the test, along with co-host Kevin Connolly.
Manage a hockey team, I can manage a hockey team.
Carving up data, analyzing trends, dissecting player performance, and prescribe just what NHL teams need. Your appointment is now, and the doctor is in. Here's Dr. Hockey.
All right, we are back with the Dr. Hockey podcast. I am here with two-time Stanley Cup champion Oleg Tverdovsky. Welcome, Oleg.
Hi, how are you, Jay?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for coming into the studio and sharing your experience with us. We're excited to have you here.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
With us also is Sean Gosser, our producer.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Oleg.
Sean, how you doing?
Hi, Sean.
You doing good, man?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Good. It's been a fun week in hockey. There were some great games, and the standings are going bananas. So we're going to do a quick summary, and then we're going to talk to Oleg about his career in the NHL and how he got there and what he's up to today, because he and I have a different connection other than hockey. So just finished up 2 rhinoplasties, as a matter of fact. One was a primary rhinoplasty on a college student from around town who finished her exams yesterday, literally came over to get her nose done today. And the other one was sort of a sad story about a girl that had 2 rhinoplasties in Dallas, and it was a total disaster. In fact, I put it on my Instagram story. This is such a unique experience for me today because I've never had this happen. I said, well, we'll put it on the Instagram story because she was, sure, go ahead, do it. Her mom watched the entire operation while I was doing it. And when I came out to tell her about the operation, she just was like, I saw what you did for my daughter, and she's going to cry. It's perfect. You did such a great job. It was like I didn't even have to say anything. I didn't have to say, oh, it went really well.
I can imagine a mom that would want to watch their child's surgery, It'd be too nerve-wracking.
I didn't even want to watch my daughter have her tonsils out, and I'm a surgeon, but she hung in there, watched the whole thing. It was kind of unique. Anyway, so just finished that up, and I get to come over and talk to Oleg, a guy I watched play a whole lot. And
you were the one.
I did. I was rooting for you. Especially when you were in Jersey. That was a great cup. So you won your Stanley Cups with the New Jersey Devils, and the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, correct.
Where were the Hurricanes playing though when you guys?
They just built a new arena. Yeah, that's the same arena I think.
They're playing in now.
Right.
Yeah. So you won it in that new arena in Raleigh-Durham, right?
Yeah, Raleigh.
Because before they were out of town. They were somewhere in.
I think they just moved, or it was. Just,
it was when you guys won.
Right.
That was a big cup. Was that who's the coach? Was it Lavalette?
Was that Peter Lavalette?
Yeah. So he was the coach then, and he's got the Predators now.
Yeah. I've watched the finals last year. I mean, he's doing a good job with the teams.
He's amazing. Yeah, he's a great coach. And he brought the Flyers there. Didn't win with the Flyers, so he's no stranger to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
And based on the standings, it looks like the Predators are going to try to make another run for it this year, even stronger than last year. They're number one in the Central Division. So we'll get to the standings in just a minute. So for those of you who are new to the Dr. Hockey podcast, generally what we do is we go through a week summary. We do a team spotlight. We're going to look at the Minnesota Wild, who's made a bit of a comeback. They were in the standings for a bit, and I think by now they're already out, but they're doing some great things, and I wanted to put the spotlight on the Wild because they have some amazing players, and I think that they will find their way to the playoffs. And then our player spotlight, after the Duchesne trade, I got to say this, Nathan MacKinnon is on fire. He had scored 3 goals prior to the trade and 12 goals after the trade. So with Duchesne out, MacKinnon has stepped up, and he's from Sidney Crosby's hometown. And an amazing player, and the Avalanche beat the Penguins, as a matter of fact, the other night. So we want to look at him. But just in terms of what's going on in trades and transactions, it's not that active right now, but I suspect that it will get active just as these standings are changing so frequently. We will look at the fights that occurred, the injuries that are going on right now that are affecting how the teams are playing, and then we'll look at the weekend games to watch. In between there, we'll interview Oleg about how he did his whole career. We'll go from start to finish, and then what he's up to, as we said. And then our upcoming guests, we're going to be off next week. I don't think I'll be in the studio. We're not sure about that yet, but Sean and I are going to put together a little story about the EHL, the Emirates Hockey League. I interviewed a bunch of players from the KHL, the NHL, and folks that were playing in Dubai. And they have 6 teams in the Emirates Hockey League. They just hosted the Canada 150 in Abu Dhabi. Troy Kaler is a guy who was in the NHL and has he lives in Dubai, does marketing and business there, but he still plays all the time. And we interviewed him about the league, so we'll talk about that. Coming back on the 3rd of January in the new year, Nick Schultz, 12-year career with the Flyers. You probably played against him. I'm sure you remember. Yeah, and then the week after, Anders Lee will be coming on from the Islanders. So hopefully we'll have Kevin back by then. Kevin Connolly is my co-host, who's usually here. But, as luck would have it, his movie that was going to be sort of a small, kind of release got bought and is amped up to a very wide release now, probably in March or April. And he's working his butt off on this thing. He directed the movie. It's called Gotti. It's about the John Gotti, the John Gotti sort of legacy and the Gotti family. We hope it really goes very well for him. Sure. And we hope he avoids any people that don't think that should make it to the screen. There was something on TMZ I saw that they were following Kevin, and they said, "Oh, I heard that the mob put a hit on the Gotti movie." It's like, there's no hit on the Gotti movie. It's really going to go very well, and it's a great. If you've seen the trailer, I don't know. Can you put in a clip from the trailer for? If you can put that in.
And Travolta looks great, man.
He's amazing.
I thought the O.J. Simpson thing that they did on FX, he played that main lawyer.
Yeah.
Evading me right now, but they kind of made him look a little older. Looks like they kind of did the same thing here with making him look like John Gotti, and he looks great.
Well, it features a lot of the things that I like. First of all, I'm from New Jersey, so anything about like back east, I'm totally into it. And it's a lot of guys who talk with Jersey accents, which I kind of like too. But on top of it, a lot of people getting shot in the head. So there you have it. It's going to be a good movie. Anyway, so Oleg, are you watching hockey now? Do you pay attention to it, or?
Well, I have here and there, when I have time. But I mostly at the rink with my 2 sons that play hockey for a Junior Ducks organization, and I'm helping coaching.
With the Junior Ducks?
Yeah.
So where do they practice?
They practice at Lakewood Ice. It's just south of 405.
By Long Beach?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and, it just takes all my time, basically, afternoon. So
how old are they?
My oldest one's going to be 11 in a month, and other son is 8. So
wow. So they're
well,
in it.
they training like a pros. Like they 6 times a week in the ice, and
Jeez.
2 hours on the ice and some dry land. And,
Really?
I mean, I'm at the rink more than I've ever been when I played. So
Really?
I mean, and games and travels. I mean, it's just amazing how these hockey dads are doing it, because it's just a full-time job. I mean, you have to sacrifice so much of your time towards it. I mean, there's no other way around it. So,
Did your parents do that for you?
well, it was a little different back then. Yeah, obviously my dad was big involved in my hockey career, but I was from small town where it didn't require so much driving. I mean, I could walk to the rink.
Oh, that's very different.
Now it takes me 6-7 hours, to do the hockey with my boys, because by the time I'm usually leaving around 3 and then I come back around 9. So every day pretty much. And I mean,
how'd you get off to come do the podcast?
Weekends, well, I have to miss one today. I send my boys the hike. They're still there, but I gotta come pick them up later on.
Oh, well, really, really appreciate you coming in, man. I know that's dedication. Yeah.
I know.
Well, my daughter is turning 11 tomorrow, as a matter of fact, and she moved up her level in gymnastics. So she goes 4 times a week for 4 hours at a clip. And
Wow.
she's at Gym Max in Costa Mesa, and they produce like Olympians out of there.
Well,
And
you have to
it's
dedicate.
full-time.
Yeah, you have to dedicate your time. I mean, it's like that they wrote that book 10,000 hours. I mean, until you get a certain amount of hours into training, and there's no secrets. You have to do it.
Gotta do
And
it.
you need it early too, not late.
That's right.
You can't be trying to squeeze in those hours.
Oh yeah, like I started when I was almost 8, and all of the kids now, they're like on skates at 4, like even 3, 5. They're training full time. It's
Oh, they got
amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, if you want to compete, I mean, the way the NHL looks now looks really different than when you came into it. I mean, these guys are moving at speeds that are insane.
They all can skate and hit, and they're big. And I mean, usually like my days, the big guys couldn't skate. I mean, like that's.
It was different.
Yeah, and then I think average height was pretty like 6'1". Now it's like 6'2", 6'3". These guys are big, strong. They train. I mean, they're well trained. They skate well. Shoot well. They do everything.
They do. And then they can throw down too. Like you look at Evander Kane, Kane has all these shorthanded goals, but he's a giant guy, and if push comes to shove, he can scrap, he can skate.
Oh yeah.
They play defense. I mean, it's amazing.
Even in my day, there was a huge difference between the fourth line and the first line. Now, I mean, the difference is so small. I mean, like everybody can play power play and penalty killing. It's all about opportunities.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember last year looking at the Rangers' fourth line, and there were guys on the fourth line that had 7 and 8 goals, and I mean, it was hardly a fourth line, and it's impressive.
The hockey's changing, yeah,
big time. So let's go through what's going on in the NHL real quickly. We were talking about the Vegas Golden Knights before we started, and the Vegas Golden Knights are number 2 in the Pacific Division. So there's Los Angeles, who's playing out of their heads. The Kings look amazing this year. Even Kevin Conley and I talk about Jeff Carter as one of our favorite players, that we really feel like he's extremely effective and a goal scorer and a leader. He's not even playing. He's injured. He's out until the trade deadline is when his expected time back, yet the Kings are still in first place.
Well, it just shows you the depths of the team and the coaching. And, again, like the depths of the Kings now, it's so deep. I mean, if people go out with injuries and they still, somebody else come up and driving the bus.
Absolutely. I mean, and Dustin Brown had like a huge resurgence. I mean, maybe, he just could think differently about his game, but he's doing great. Kopitar, I mean, they've got a lot of guys that are really on fire. Tyler Toffoli.
The Cup, and I mean, obviously they are getting in the league for a while, so they've done it all.
They'd like to win another one. I think that's
luck.
The plan, right?
Yeah.
So Vegas is number 2, and we were talking about who are the guys that are really getting it done for them. It's interesting. I think it's really a team effort, because even Fleury, who just came back, and the other night he played against the Penguins. It was Murray versus Fleury, and it was a 2-1 win for the Vegas Golden Knights. We had John Blue here, who is a goalie for the Bruins and is now a pastor, and he came in and chatted with us a bit. But he said something which I really believe. He said, on any given night, the best goalie wins the game, and you see that.
Yeah, and these days are the difference between winning and losing is so small. All these details, all the preparation the team do before the game and the skills of the players, and obviously any hot goalie can win a game for you. It doesn't matter how good your team is.
Well, and that's the part of the Kings' success is this Jonathan Quick. I mean, he keeps the puck out of the net, and it's up to the Kings to score the goals. But he's great.
Yeah, it's all about making a key save when the team is needed, because that can turn the game around and momentum. Back
Fast.
and forth.
Yeah, very quick. So the Golden Knights have James Neal, who won the Cup with the Penguins in 2009, was on the Predators last year, and the Predators left him unprotected. And so the Golden Knights snatched him up, and then they got Fleury. They've got a guy named Marchessault from Florida, who I think is amazing. I think Pat Brisson, who was here last week, he manages Marchessault. And my brother, who lives in Florida, right near where they play, he told me, he goes, "This is the guy you want for the, off of Florida." And I said, "Well, Yager's unprotected." They're like, "No." He said, Marchessault. He said, "Watched him, and he's great." They got a guy named Nosek from the Red Wings. I mean, the team's stacked, and they look great.
All these guys got an opportunity to succeed in a new team, and they're doing it. I mean, they're waiting for their chance to prove that they're belong there and look like they're doing great.
I mean, Doc Emmerich said when he was on, he said, "I'm waiting for that to start the Vegas Golden Knights to start behaving like a real expansion team," which it doesn't look like they're going to do that.
Right.
As you were saying, like you were brought in onto the Jets.
Yeah, it was an expansion team, and again, the difference between with all respect to all the force line players back then, the difference was huge between the guys like Paul Kariya and Timo Solani and guys who played a smaller role on the force line, like forechecking line. Nowadays, all the guys, big, strong, they can skate, they can handle the puck, they can score goals. All they needed the opportunity to prove themselves, and it's really amazing to watch this game right now.
Oh, it's a blast, and watching the Vegas Golden Knights do what they're doing is really fun for me, since I'm friends with Joe Maloof and his brothers, and it's been exciting to see them really succeed. They're having a great time.
Good for them.
Yeah. The Islanders. So it was Fleury versus Murray. The Penguins lost to the Golden Knights in Vegas. The Islanders beat the Kings in overtime, which was for Kevin Connolly, we like to chalk that one up. The Rangers beat the Kings on the same Eastern trip. And then the Blackhawks now are on a 5-game winning streak because they have been having a hard time. They are not the powerhouse in wins that they were last year, but they've had a 5-game winning streak. It's pretty amazing what they're doing. I think they're on their way to getting into the playoffs. Dallas, I think, is hanging in there in the Central Division. They have they've been beating good teams, but they've been losing some games that they shouldn't be losing. So I'm not sure where Dallas is going to fall in the playoff picture. And the Red Wings beat the Maple Leafs in a cross-border battle, which was I mentioned that one just for Dr. Berkeley, who was here, and he's a huge Red Wings fan. So we noticed, we saw it. I know he called them the Maple Laughs, but which I didn't think was very nice, by the way, just for those of you in Toronto. So the standings, I think it's Tampa Bay is running away with it. They have 50 points. Toronto's behind them with 41. They're on a tear. Kucherov and Stamkos, I think this team is a force to be reckoned with, and we're going to see how they do in the playoffs because they are definitely going to be there, barring some massive mental issue or huge injury. But then after Toronto, Boston, Montreal, Detroit,